Okay, so this is the game of life that I made in my first year. It's based around John Conway's game of life. He was a mathematician in the 1970s, and it's basically a game that's really about evolution. You start with this number of cells that you can see here, and if I just click one, it turns it into a live cell. Now if a cell's left on its own and you run it for a generation, it dies of loneliness. However, if a cell has two neighbours, then it will stay alive, and also if an empty cell has three neighbours, it will spawn a new cell. So if I run a generation here, you'll see it's created a new cell. Now anything with exactly two or three neighbours as well will stay alive. So these all have three neighbours, but no other remaining squares around them have. So if I run the generations now, they'll just stay in one place, there'll be no movement. I'm running the generations now, and as you can see, nothing is happening. Now, if you overcrowd them, that is, they have four neighbours, then the cell will die. And there, as you've seen over the few generations there, the entire lifespan has gone altogether. Now, due to the way this game works, it can create all sorts of interesting sort of mathematical patterns, depending on the setup. Here we have an example of something in the life game that's known as a boat, which on its own will stay still. I'm running the generations now, and as you can see, nothing's happening. It's a static object that doesn't die or expand any. Now if I just add an extra cell here to destabilize it as such and then run the generations, it creates quite an interesting pattern, which will normally end up with the creation of three more boats. If I just wipe it. Okay, also due to the way it works, you can create shapes that will form life in a way that the life behind them will die and it will continue going forwards. A really simple example I can show you here is the glider, which is simply three at the bottom, one here and one here. Now each time this spawns and dies, it spawns towards the bottom right hand corner and dies behind it. So as you can see, as I run the generations, it will actually glide towards the bottom of the screen. Now this is really more of a puzzle toy than an actual game, if you will. It's enjoyed by quite a few people. You can find many representations of it online. The difference I made was that as I'm doing games programming, I wanted to make more of a game of it. So what I've done is create a sort of Darwinian style game in which you can place all these life counters around the screen, as you will, and then another player can also place different life counters that will actually fight with the other life counters. If they spawn next to each other, they'll destroy each other. So obviously whoever has the best evolutionary pattern should win. So if I just run this game now, oops, then as you'll see, there'll be a massive rapid expansion and they'll start to actually interact with each other, and it really messes up the pattern that would normally be the norm. At the moment the blue would seem to be winning as it's destabilised mouse, but now the game has become static. Nothing's going to die anymore, so I'll stop the generations. And as you can see, the white player has 6 left, whereas the blue player has 10. And therefore the blue player would win, and you could start all over again. And it has an almost infinite number of iterations. I'd not like to quote how many billions of possible patterns there are in this game. But it's an interesting thing to play, and it's what I base my later game Runic off, this same engine that I use with a 2D array and different mathematical functions to get them working properly. If you like the game, it is available for download on my website leecgp.com.